Hello, everybody. It's always so good to be back with you. I wanted to share a few thoughts with you today about family life. On the Sunday after Christmas, the church celebrated the Feast of the Holy Family, Feast of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I read an article a while back that said this Feast of the Holy Family is potentially a dangerous feast. And the author was reflecting upon the fact that sometimes preachers do this a lot, I realize. We can put exaggerated expectations, unreal expectations on something like family life that make it very difficult because we are always looking over our shoulder, but someone is expecting even greater things of us as a family, or we compare ourselves with other families. Well, this notion of exaggerated expectations, it's not something that's just a church thing. It's in other phases of life too. A while back, I saw an advertisement for a car dealer, and there's a family coming out of the dealer's parking lot. They obviously have just purchased a brand new car. And in the front seat, father and mother are sitting smiling, gleaming. Kids are in the back seat. They're very happy. What's the message? Buy a car from us, and look what your family is going to be like. I haven't seen this advertisement in a couple of years, but I saw it a while back. It was a Disney effort to get people to go to Orlando, to Disney World. And so you see the whole family. They're enjoying the rides. They're playing the games. They're jumping in the pool, having a great time. And at night, they're in this restaurant, elegant restaurant, dressed up, having a wonderful meal. And the message Disney wants you to pick up is, hey, just come to Orlando and look what your family is going to be like. And you say, well, that's not us. That's not what our family looks like. Well, the good news is that's not what the family of Mary and Joseph and Jesus looked like either. No family comes down from heaven perfectly made. Everybody has struggles. Even Joseph and Mary and Jesus had stress. Let me give you two examples, some scriptures that talk about this. Remember, before they were ever married, at the time of their engagement, there was a unplanned, unexpected pregnancy. Joseph wanted to call the whole thing off. He wanted to separate from Mary. He was going to walk away until an angel of the Lord convinced him to stay. But can you imagine the stress that was in that relationship? Can you imagine the discussions that they had to have with one another? And they had to rebuild their whole relationship. That was not a particularly easy time, for sure, for Mary and Joseph. Second story, actually, it's the gospel on the feast of the Holy Family. And it's a story when Mary and Joseph take Jesus and they go to the temple, as they would each year, to offer their prayers. Well, as they were returning, it was the cultural custom that the men would walk with the men, women would walk with the women, and somehow Mary and Joseph thought Jesus was with the other person. And in point of fact, they discovered he wasn't. Where was he? He was lost. The scripture says for 3 days they were looking for him. You know, as parents, if a little person is gone for 90 seconds, it's panic time. 3 days they searched Finally, they got back to the temple, and there was Jesus in the temple. The scripture says rather benignly, Mary said, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been searching for you with great anxiety." In point of fact, I imagine Mary said, "Jesus, where have you been? What are you doing?" And as only a typical teenager could nonchalantly say, Jesus said, "Well, what are you looking for me for? Didn't you know I was going to be here?" The scripture says they didn't understand his words. In other words, they just must have shook their head. And it says they went home. But I have a suspicion that the trip home, probably not a lot of words were spoken. Probably a pretty silent journey. Can you relate to all of that? I think most of us can indeed. So on this celebration of the Holy Family, what we are honoring is not a perfect family. We are honoring a family that is real and a family that is holy. So what makes a real family, a holy family? Interestingly, just on this past Sunday, when we celebrated the Feast of the Holy Family, Pope Francis was talking to some families in Rome. And in his address, it was quoted, some of his quotes were quoted in the paper, but he went on at a greater length. And Francis was talking about family life. And this is what he said. The perfect family doesn't exist, nor is there a perfect husband, nor is there a perfect wife. And then he paused for a minute and he said, nor is there a perfect mother-in-law. All we have, Francis says, is just us sinners. And then he makes a statement, which was quoted in the paper, which I think is really very, very helpful. Francis says this: a healthy family, notice the adjective, he says a healthy family. He doesn't say a perfect family. A healthy family requires the frequent use of these three phrases. May I, thank you, I'm sorry. May I, thank you, I'm sorry. Let me give you one more example of what healthy family looks like. You may have heard this story. I think I used it once before, but still, I think there's a lot of validity to the story. It was a few years back when I was in Cincinnati, and there was a conference there at which Mother Teresa was one of the speakers. And she spoke of her efforts working with truly the poorest of the poor in India. And when she finished, people were asking, well, what can we do? How can we help? Mother Teresa says, don't come to India. Husbands, smile at your wives. Wives, encourage your husbands. Young people, listen to your parents. Smile, encourage, listen. It seems to me these 6 phrases of Pope Francis and Mother Teresa, these 6 phrases of may I, thank you, I'm sorry, smile, encourage, listen. These 6 ideas might be If we're looking for New Year's resolutions, these might be a good place to start. I think these might just be the building blocks and how we build a family that is real and at the same time is holy. May I? Thank you. I'm sorry. Smile. Encourage. Listen. Happy, healthy New Year, everybody. Thanks for watching. Blessings and peace for 2022.